story. There might be a lot of takes and a lot of edits because it's not easy to talk about, but if I can help even one person, then it's worth sharing my story. My husband and I were married for about a year when we decided to go ahead and try for a family. We didn't have much luck for a while. After a couple years, we went and we saw a fertility specialist that put me on Clomid and various medications to try to get me to have a child, and it didn't work. Even the fertility specialist was a little stumped. They did a laparoscopy, they looked inside my uterus area, and they said I had endometriosis, and that could cause some issues, but it shouldn't block it completely. So we tried again on our own for a couple of years. This is 4 years later, and I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. I had to be rushed to the hospital. I lost a lot of blood. I lost a tube. I lost the baby. And then we found out that the endometriosis was choking the other tube. So I was left with only one tube. It was blocked off. And the doctor said, the only way that you can have a baby now is to do IVF. So we saved up some money, made sure we had good insurance, and went and we started the IVF process. We also found out that I had a blood clotting disorder, which did hinder some things. And as soon as the IVF was successful, we were lucky it was the first round, then I had to be on blood thinners for the entire pregnancy and 6 weeks after delivering. The hardest part about infertility for me was that my body wasn't able to do what it is biologically, genetically supposed to be able to do. I was supposed to be able to conceive. I had friends who were able to their first try within a few months. And while I was happy for them, there's always that bitterness that goes with it, with watching them being able to succeed in something that you want so badly. I remember laying on the floor after I got my monthly period, my negative pregnancy test, just crying, crumpled up, wondering what is wrong with me? Why can't I have this baby? You're never really prepared to not be able to have the child, because the circle of life is grow up, fall in love, get married, have a child, watch them grow old, and then die living a happy life. Of course, that's not the same for everybody. Some people choose to go a different route, and that's completely fine. But for me, all I wanted was a family. All I wanted was to be a mom, and I felt so incomplete for those 4 years, not being able to conceive. The hardest part of IVF was the stems. I went through stems for about 7 days of injections morning and night. Of course, the shots I had to do throughout my pregnancy. Just not knowing if it would work. You're putting so much time and effort into these meds, these doctor's appointments. I mean, you're going multiple times a week so they can check your body, make sure it's prepped the way it's supposed to, make sure that there's eggs growing and follicles, and they have to do a follicle count. And then of course they have to do egg retrieval, which is definitely not fun. So IVF itself is very expensive. I think ours was about $22,000. Luckily, ours worked the first round. Out of pocket, we spent about $6,000. Most of that was towards the medication. The medication alone is crazy expensive. We got ours from a good pharmacy. We had the good insurance to cover it. A lot of people aren't that lucky. We would have had to save for a lot longer if we wouldn't have had our insurance. We were able to pay for all of our portion out of pocket because we did save, but there's people who go into debt for this. They take out loans, and it's all 100% worth it. I would do this 100 times over if I had to. Luckily, I got my happy ending the first try. Some people aren't that lucky. Some people go 10 years with being infertile, or 10 years of going through IVF and not having success. Luckily for me, it was just a tube problem. The doctor said I had all the plumbing, just a couple of pipes missing. Some, like especially with PCOS, it's a lot harder for them, and I feel for them. That being said, if this is what you want, it's worth it. I would recommend it. do your research. Make sure you have a good doctor. Make sure it's in your budget or that it's worth blowing your budget, and go for it. You have to take that leap of faith. If you're a person of faith, keep up those prayers, have people praying for you, get people involved that you care about, that you trust. For me, it was close friends and family. As soon as I started the process, I told them. As soon as I got the positive test, I told them. And that support makes a really big difference. Now, once it did take, I had to be transferred over to an MFM, which is a high-risk doctor. I have something called MTHFR. If you don't know what that is and you've been having trouble trying to conceive, I would recommend that you look that up and maybe be tested for it. It is a blood clotting disorder, which is part of the reason why I was not able to conceive naturally. It's also something that can cause a lot of stillbirths, so you have to take blood thinning shots during your whole pregnancy. Again, not fun, but worth it, and something to know about ahead of time so it can save you some heartache and pain. So in closing, infertility is very, very hard. It's something you have to deal with physically, mentally, emotionally, that can take you a long time to get over. But it's not impossible to overcome. You see the right doctors, you have the right support system, you get the right help, take the right steps, whether it be IVF or if you're lucky enough to conceive naturally with a little bit of help from medication, you can overcome it if you really try. So that was my intro video, a little heavy. I do plan on pumping out some more videos, especially now that it is quarantine life. There'll be cooking, cleaning, girl talk like this. Sometimes we'll have personal issues to talk about. Sometimes it'll just be fun stuff like watching my family grow. There's a variety of things. If you have any suggestions, comments, something you want to see, let me know. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Bye guys.